Welcome back. In this episode, we're covering urban forestry, which makes up about 6% of the certified arborist exam. Even though this is one of the smaller domains by percentage, it's conceptually important. Urban forestry is where trees, people, infrastructure, policy, and long-term planning all intersect. By the end of this episode, you'll understand how the exam views the value of urban trees, how arborists communicate that value, and how urban forest management is planned and regulated. Let's start with the big idea. Urban forestry is about managing trees as a system, not just as individual specimens. The exam wants you thinking beyond single trees and toward community-wide benefits and responsibilities. Benefits of urban trees. The exam tests multiple categories of benefits, not just environmental ones. Urban trees' environmental benefits improve air quality, reduce stormwater runoff, provide wildlife habitat, and moderate urban temperatures. If a question mentions heat islands, flooding, or air pollution, urban trees are often part of the solution. Economic benefits. Trees add economic value by increasing property values, reducing energy costs, and providing return on investment over time. The exam may reference benefit-cost ratios or return on investment to test whether you understand trees as long-term assets. Social and health benefits. Urban trees support improve mental and physical health, increase quality of life, community well-being, and reduce crime in some contexts. If a question frames trees as part of public health or community planning, this is the domain being tested. Aesthetic benefits. Trees contribute to visual appeal, community identity, and cultural value. Aesthetic value alone is rarely the only correct answer, but it often supports broader benefits. Tree appraisal and valuation. The exam includes tree appraisal principles. You're expected to understand that. Trees can be assigned value. Appraisal follows accepted methods. Value supports decision-making, not emotion. Tree valuation may be used in damage assessment, development decisions, and legal or planning contexts. If a question involves compensation, loss, or justification for preservation, appraisal principles are usually involved. Communication with stakeholders. Urban forestry requires communicating with the general public, property owners, engineers and planners, and public officials. The exam emphasizes clear, inclusive communication with people of diverse backgrounds and knowledge levels. If a question involves public engagement or conflict, the correct answer usually includes education and explanation, not just enforcement. Regulations, ordinances, and laws. Urban forestry operates within legal frameworks. The exam expects you to recognize tree ordinances, tree preservation orders, permitting and licensing requirements, and wildlife and habitat protection laws. Arborists must know when regulations apply and how to refer to appropriate authorities or reference materials. Ignoring local regulations is almost never the correct exam answer. Urban forest management plans. This is a key concept. An urban forestry management plan includes tree inventories, planting strategies, canopy cover goals, maintenance cycles, species diversity planning, invasive species management, and pest and disease management. The exam wants you to understand that proactive planning is more effective than reactive management. If a question asks how to sustainably manage trees over time, the answer usually involves long-term planning, not one-off actions. Sustainability and diversity. Urban forests must be diverse, resilient, and adaptable. Species diversity reduces vulnerability to pests, disease, and climate stress. If a question involves monocultures or widespread loss, the exam is often testing lack of diversity as the underlying issue. Data collection and inventory. Urban forestry relies on data. Arborists may collect information such as diameter, height, condition, and location. This data supports planning, budgeting, and decision-making. On the exam, inventories are often tied to management plans and valuation, not just record keeping. Exam-focused callouts. Watch for these patterns. Trees discussed as community assets, long-term planning versus short-term fixes, regulations overlooked in decision-making, benefits framed beyond aesthetics, diversity and sustainability emphasized. If an answer considers people, policy, and trees together, it's usually on the right track. Rapid review summary. Let's lock this in. Urban forestry manages trees as systems. Urban trees provide environmental, economic, social, and health benefits. Trees have measurable value. Communication with stakeholders is essential. Regulations guide urban tree management. Long-term planning and diversity support sustainability. That's Urban Forestry, and that completes all the major domains of the Certified Arborist exam. If you've worked through these episodes, you've done more than memorize facts. You've trained yourself to think like the exam wants you to think and like a professional arborist in the field. At this point, you're not just studying, you're preparing to pass with confidence. Thanks for listening to the Arborist-podcast. Let's keep building your arborist knowledge one domain at a time.